about anxiety today. Now, you may think that you already know what anxiety is, and that may be true, but I'm just going to tell you what I learned about anxiety because when I was in school and college, in nursing school particularly, I thought I knew what anxiety was, but turns out I was super wrong because, I ended up having really debilitating and severe panic attacks. And I had never experienced a panic attack before. And in fact, my family and my friends, we had no idea what was going on because, my symptoms were so intense, they were so extreme and very physical that, panic attacks just never even crossed our minds at first. In fact, even when I had gone to the ER for panic attacks, a lot of my doctors and physicians, many of them did not even mention once that this may or may not be a panic attack. A lot of them just, took a bunch of labs, blood draws to kind of see what is going on. And, things would come back a little bit abnormal, but nothing super crazy. So it was crazy to me when someone finally told me, you're having panic attacks. And I thought, heck to the no, because this is insane. I had no idea that panic attacks could be so debilitating. So that's kind of why I want to talk about anxiety, because I think that most people don't really know what it is unless they've truly experienced it. So I'm going to try to explain it really simply, the best that I can. So when I think about anxiety, I think about, have you ever seen the movie Jurassic Park? I'm sure you have, and if not, I hope that you watch it because I love that movie. But if you picture yourself in front of a huge T-Rex or a dinosaur, hence my little dinosaur toy. But if you truly picture yourself in front of a dinosaur, real life, you would probably be scared out of your mind. And truly, truly try to picture yourself in that situation. And you would imagine, probably your heart would start racing and you might start sweating a little bit. You'll just be super, super scared. And think of that as like anxiety. If you were a person struggling with anxiety who was experiencing a panic attack, essentially you would have those same symptoms that you would be feeling if you were in front of a dinosaur or a T-Rex. So pretty intense, but what's crazy about panic attacks or anxiety is that you are reacting to a perceived threat that is not there. So again, you will be still experiencing those same things, those heart palpitations, the sweating, that adrenaline release that will cause a lot of those crazy bodily sensations that are very physical, which is there to save your life in the time of a dinosaur, coming at you. But in the case of a panic attack, there's nothing that is visible in front of you. And that's why it's so scary, is because your body's having this reaction to something that isn't in front of you. And so panic attack symptoms often come just out of nowhere, very out of the blue. For some anxiety attacks, you'll learn the difference between anxiety attacks and panic attacks. But panic attacks, they just come out of the blue. There's no trigger to it. There's no anxiety is there to build up. It just comes out of nowhere. And it's super scary because a lot of people can think that they're having a heart attack, that something's wrong with their heart, that they can't breathe. And it's just, super scary. But it is comforting to know in that case that your body is reacting appropriately to stress, but it's just acting to an extreme because you've been exposed to too much stress. So when a person experiences a true panic attack, they typically describe it as it starts out with some sort of a crazy symptom that's really just not normal, that's very scary, and usually they're afraid for their life. This panic creates a cycle, and the cycle continues because what happens is you become afraid of having another panic attack. So this creates more worry, more stress, making adrenaline build up in your body and eventually need to release through a panic attack. And that's kind of where, those same symptoms come back in as if you were in front of a dinosaur. And so it's just kind of like this never-ending nightmare of a cycle where you experience a panic attack from too much stress, but having a panic attack makes you terrified of having another panic attack because those symptoms are so extremely scary that you feel like you're gonna die. And eventually you'll end up having another panic attack because of all of that worry. So it is just, this crazy, horrible loop that it's hard to get out of once you've started it. And so that is just, creating more and more anxiety. But what's comforting to know is that those symptoms that you have during a panic attack are there to protect you. It's kind of like a warning sign for your body to say, hey, you've been really stressed out. I'm having a panic attack now. And it's like your body's throwing a fit. So to kind of get out of that, there's some coping skills that we can learn, some stress reducing skills that we can learn and practice every day that I will go over with you soon. Now keep in mind that those scary symptoms that happen during a panic attack, like for me, my big one was heart palpitations. I mean, they were so big that I just felt like my heart was leaping out of my chest. It would literally startle me out of nowhere. But if you think about it and put it in this perspective, if I were in front of a dinosaur right now and I experienced that same heart palpitation, I would not be afraid of that heart palpitation because I would be terrified of that dinosaur right in front of me. So I could care less about what my body is doing because my brain is actually visibly seeing a threat. And so again, that's kind of why panic attacks are just so scary, because there's nothing that's visibly there, but your body is making these crazy sensations that seem super intense when really it's just a big, huge adrenaline release. And you can even prove this to yourself. Like what I've done before sometimes when I would have a panic attack is I would actually do some push-ups just on the floor, just really quick. And you'll notice that as you're doing those push-ups, like it's normal for your heart to beat that fast and for it to have some palpitations. And you don't really notice it as much. But again, when you're just sitting there and a panic attack comes out of nowhere, that's where it's really scary. And that's when anxiety comes in. So anxiety is extremely severe. It's debilitating for anybody. And so if you've ever experienced this, I feel you for sure. And just be mindful of those around you, because some people don't know that what they're experiencing is anxiety. So now that you know, you can have some more compassion and just be able to be hopefully there for them if this happens. And of course, it's so important to rule out any medical conditions too. That's also kind of why it's hard having panic attacks or anxiety, because it is all more psychological in nature. You have to rule out those medical metabolic symptoms to make sure that there's nothing that's actually a medical diagnosis. And that can add to the anxiety even more. But again, as you treat the anxiety in conjunction with getting help from your doctors, then you'll be perfect. You'll eventually get on the right treatment plan, you'll have the right diagnosis, and you can just be totally content knowing that you're being taken care of and that your health is in control. So I encourage you to just keep learning about anxiety, and hopefully what I continue to share with you will be helpful in the future. And if you have any questions, let me know and I will do my best to answer them.